Tom, what do you think is the most important part of a job interview?
Maybe the beginning? Like, tell me about yourself.
That's what most people think. But actually, the most important moment comes at the end.
At the end?
Yes, when the interviewer looks at you and asks, "Do you have any questions for us?"
Oh, I usually say, no, I'm good.
And that is where most candidates lose the opportunity, because this is not the end of the interview. This is your final chance to show how you think.
But I thought that question was just polite, like something they ask everyone.
It sounds polite, but it's actually powerful.
Powerful? How?
Because in that moment, they already know your answers. They already heard your story. Now they want to see something deeper.
Deeper?
Yes, they want to see your curiosity, your mindset, and how you look at the job.
So, if I say no questions, what does it mean?
It tells them you're not thinking, or worse, you're not interested.
I didn't realize that.
Most people don't, and that's why they miss this moment. But here's the good news, Tom. If you learn how to ask the right questions, you can stand out even at the very last minute.
So, this is like a hidden opportunity?
Exactly. So listeners, stay with us until the end of this video, because today you're going to learn simple questions that can completely change how interviewers see you.
Okay, now I'm curious.
Good. Let's begin.
Honestly, I never know what to ask. I'm afraid I'll ask something wrong.
That's exactly the problem. And you're not alone, Tom, because most candidates feel the same way, especially when they reach the final part of the interview and suddenly realize they are expected to switch roles, from answering questions to asking questions. And that shift creates pressure, confusion, and a lot of self-doubt all at once.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like my brain just stops working at that moment.
Exactly. And when that happens, people usually fall into 3 very common mistakes. And these mistakes are not small, because they quietly reduce your value in the eyes of the interviewer without you even noticing it.
What are they?
First, they ask nothing. They just say, "No questions."
That's me.
And when a candidate says that, it may feel safe in the moment because you avoid the risk of asking something wrong. But from the interviewer's perspective, it creates a completely different message because it can make you look passive, unprepared, or even uninterested, especially when the company expects you to be curious about the role you are applying for.
So, even if I did well before that, I can still lose points here?
Yes, and that's the part many people don't realize, because interviews are not scored like a test with clear sections. They are emotional decisions, and the final impression often stays longer than the first one. So when you say "no questions," it closes the conversation in a very flat way, without energy, without curiosity, and without leaving a strong memory.
Wow, I didn't think it was that serious.
It is, and sometimes it's not because you don't care, but because you don't know what to ask, and that leads to the second mistake.
What's the second one?
They ask very basic questions, questions that can be easily found online.
Like what?
For example, asking, "What does your company do?" or "When was the company founded?" or even "What products do you offer?" Because these are questions that show you didn't take time to do simple research before the interview. And when an interviewer hears that, they may start to question your level of preparation and your seriousness about the opportunity.
So even if the question isn't wrong, it still sounds weak?
Exactly, because it doesn't add value to the conversation, and it doesn't show your thinking. It only shows a lack of effort, and in a competitive environment where other candidates are trying to stand out, this kind of question keeps you at the surface level.
I see. So I need to go deeper.
Yes, but here's where the third mistake happens, and this one is very common, especially for candidates who are nervous or focus too much on their own needs.
What is it?
They only ask about benefits, salary, days off, working hours.
But those are important, right?
Of course they are important, and it's completely normal to care about them. But the problem is not the question itself. The problem is the timing and the intention behind it. because when you focus only on what you can get from the company, especially too early, it creates the impression that your priority is comfort, not contribution.
So it sounds like I only care about myself?
Yes, and even if that's not your intention, that's how it can be interpreted, because the interviewer is looking for someone who is thinking about solving problems, adding value, and growing with the company, not just someone who is calculating benefits.
That makes sense.
And there is another layer to this problem, Tom, something deeper that many candidates don't talk about, and that is fear. Because behind all these mistakes, there is usually a fear of being judged, a fear of sounding stupid, or a fear of losing the opportunity by saying the wrong thing.
Yes, I feel that a lot. Sometimes I just want to finish the interview without making any mistakes.
And that mindset is very common, but it also limits you, because when your goal is only to avoid mistakes, you stop trying to create impact. And in an interview, playing safe is not always the best strategy, especially at the end, where you actually have the chance to show confidence and clarity through your questions.
So, what should I focus on instead?
Here's the truth, Tom. Your questions show how you think, not what you know.
So, it's more about mindset than knowledge?
Exactly, because you don't need to know everything about the company, but you need to show that you are thinking in the right direction, that you are curious about how to do the job well, how to work with the team, and how to grow in the role.
That feels different.
It is different, because instead of trying to impress with perfect answers, you are building a connection through meaningful questions, and that shift changes how the interviewer sees you, from just another candidate to someone who is engaged, thoughtful, and ready to contribute.
So it's not about asking a lot.
Exactly. It's about asking the right questions.
I think I understand now. It's not the question that scares me. It's how I think about the question.
And once you change that, everything becomes easier.
So what should I do next? How do I actually ask better questions in a real interview?
Good question, because understanding the problem is just the first step. In the next part, we're going to break it down into a simple way of thinking, a clear structure you can follow, even if you feel nervous.
Like something I can remember easily?
Exactly, a simple approach that helps you ask smart questions without overthinking.
So, what should I do next? How do I actually ask better questions in a real interview?
Good question. Because understanding the problem is just the first step. Now we focus on the solution. And I want to keep this simple for you. Because when you are in an interview, especially under pressure, you don't need something complicated. You need something clear, something you can remember quickly, and something you can apply naturally without sounding rehearsed.
Yes, that's exactly what I need. Something simple and easy to use.
Perfect. Then here is the idea. Instead of trying to remember 10 different questions and feeling overwhelmed, you only need to remember 3 directions. And from these 3 directions, you can create many good questions naturally.
3 directions?
Yes. First, questions about the role. Second, questions about the team. And third, questions about the future.
That already feels more organized.
Exactly. Because when your thinking is organized, your words become clear. And when your words are clear, your confidence naturally increases, even if you are still a little nervous inside.
So I don't need to memorize exact sentences?
No. And in fact, if you try to memorize too much, you may sound unnatural, or you may forget everything when the pressure comes. So instead, focus on understanding the intention behind each type of question, because once you understand the intention, you can create your own sentences in a very natural way.
Okay, let's go step by step.
Good. Let's start with the first one, questions about the role.
So I ask about what I will do?
Yes, but not in a basic way, because if you simply ask, "What will I do?" it sounds like you are waiting for instructions. But if you change the way you ask, you can show that you are already thinking about performance and contribution.
How?
Instead of asking, "What will I do?" you can ask, "What does success look like in this role?"
What does success look like in this role?
Do you feel the difference?
Yes, it sounds more serious, more focused.
Exactly, because now you are not just asking about tasks, you are asking about expectations, results, and standards. And this tells the interviewer that you are already thinking like someone who wants to do the job well, not just someone who wants to get the job.
That makes a big difference.
It does, and you can continue in that direction. For example, you can ask about challenges, because every role has challenges, and when you ask about them, you show that you are realistic and prepared, not just excited.
So something like, what are the biggest challenges in this position?
Exactly. And that question shows maturity because you are not avoiding difficulty. You are trying to understand it before you even start.
I like that.
Good. Now let's move to the second direction. Questions about the team.
Why is that important?
Because you don't work alone, and companies don't just hire skills. They hire people who can work well with others. So when you ask about the team, you show that you care about collaboration, communication, and environment.
So what kind of question can I ask?
For example, how would you describe the team culture?
That sounds simple.
Yes, but it's powerful because culture affects your daily experience, your motivation, and your growth. And when you ask about it, you show that you are thinking long-term, not just short-term.
So I'm not just asking for information, I'm showing my values.
Exactly. And you can go deeper. For example, you can ask, what kind of person succeeds in this team? Because that question helps you understand the expectations, and at the same time, it allows you to position yourself as someone who wants to fit and contribute.
That's smart.
It is. And now we move to the third direction. Questions about the future.
Future, like company plans?
Yes, because when you ask about the future, you show that you are not only thinking about today, you are thinking about growth, direction, and long-term value. And that is something every employer appreciates.
So what can I ask?
You can ask, what are the company's goals this year? Or, how do you support employee growth? And these questions show that you are interested in development, not just stability.
I see. So each type of question has a purpose.
Exactly. And that is the key, because once you understand the purpose, you don't feel lost anymore. You don't feel afraid of asking the wrong thing, because you always know what direction you are going.
This feels much easier now. I don't need to remember everything. I just need to remember the structure.
That's right. Structure gives you confidence.
And confidence makes me sound more natural.
Exactly. And there is one more important thing I want you to remember, Tom, and this is something many candidates miss, even when they know what to ask.
What is it?
Timing and delivery, because it's not only about what you ask, but also how you ask it. You need to stay calm, speak clearly, and ask with genuine curiosity, not like you are reading from a script.
So I should sound like I really care?
Yes, because authenticity creates connection, and when the interviewer feels that you are truly interested, not just performing, the conversation becomes more natural, more engaging, and more memorable.
That makes sense.
So let's quickly review. You focus on 3 directions: role, team, and future, and within each direction, you ask questions that show thinking, awareness, and curiosity.
And I don't need to be perfect. I just need to be clear.
Exactly. Clear thinking creates strong impression.
I feel more confident already.
Good, because in the next part, we're going to bring this into real practice.
Like a real interview?
Exactly. You'll see how these questions sound in a real conversation.
I'm ready.
Let's get started.
So, Jack, thank you for your answers today. We've covered your experience, your skills, and your background. Before we finish, do you have any questions for us?
Yes, thank you. I do have a few questions. I'd like to understand more about the role and how I can contribute effectively.
Of course. Go ahead.
First, I'd love to ask, what does success look like in this role, especially in the first 6 months?
That's a great question. In the first 6 months, we expect the person in this role to become familiar with our systems, understand our workflow, and start handling tasks independently. Success also means being able to communicate clearly with the team and take initiative when solving problems.
That makes sense. So it's not only about completing tasks, but also about how I approach them.
Exactly. We value both results and attitude.
I really like that. And speaking of challenges, what would you say are the biggest challenges in this position?
One of the main challenges is managing multiple tasks at the same time, especially during busy periods. Another challenge is adapting quickly, because things can change fast in our environment.
I see. So flexibility is important here.
Very important.
That's helpful to know. I also wanted to ask, how do you usually measure performance in this role?
We look at a combination of factors, including task completion, quality of work, communication, and how well you collaborate with others. We also have regular check-ins to support improvement.
That sounds structured. I like having clear feedback.
Yes, we believe feedback helps people grow faster.
That's great. I also wanted to understand the daily experience a bit more. What does a typical day look like in this role?
A typical day usually starts with a short team meeting where we discuss priorities. Then you'll work on your assigned tasks, communicate with team members when needed, and update progress throughout the day.
So there's a balance between independent work and teamwork.
Exactly.
That sounds like an environment I can adapt to. And speaking of the team, how would you describe the team culture here?
I would say our culture is supportive and collaborative. People are open to helping each other, and we encourage communication.
That's really important to me. I believe a good team environment makes a big difference in performance.
I agree. If I may ask a bit deeper, what kind of person usually succeeds in your team? People who are proactive, responsible, and willing to learn tend to do very well here. We also value people who can stay calm under pressure.
That gives me a clear picture. I always try to stay organized and keep learning, so that's something I can relate to.
That's good to hear.
I also wanted to ask about the company's direction. What are the main goals for the company this year?
This year, we are focusing on growth and improving our internal systems. We also want to expand our customer base and improve service quality.
That sounds exciting. It feels like there are a lot of opportunities to contribute.
Yes, it's a good time to join us.
That's great. And in terms of development, how do you support employee growth?
We provide training programs, mentorship, and regular feedback sessions. We also encourage employees to take initiative in their own learning.
I really appreciate that approach. Continuous learning is very important to me.
That's good, because we value that mindset.
I have one more question if that's okay.
Of course.
What do you personally enjoy most about working here?
That's a nice question. For me, it's the people. The team is supportive and the environment is positive, which makes work more enjoyable.
That's really good to hear. I believe working with the right people makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. And just one final question. What are the next steps in the hiring process?
We'll review all candidates this week, and we'll get back to you within a few days regarding the next stage.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate the clarity.
You're welcome. And thank you, Jack. You asked very thoughtful questions.
Thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation today, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn more about the role and the team.
We're glad to hear that.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
You see, Tom, you don't need difficult questions.
Yeah, just clear and thoughtful ones.
Exactly. Because at the end of the interview, you are not just finishing the conversation, you are leaving your final impression, and that impression often stays longer than anything you said before. So even simple questions, when they are asked with the right intention, can make you stand out in a very natural and powerful way.
I understand now. It's not about trying to sound smart. It's about showing how I think.
That's right. Never say, "I have no questions," because that moment is not something to skip. It is something to use, something to take advantage of, especially when you want to show curiosity, awareness, and a real interest in the role.
And I remember, focus on the role, the team, and the future.
Perfect. Those 3 directions will always guide you, even when you feel nervous, even when your mind goes blank, because structure gives you clarity, and clarity gives you confidence.
I feel much more prepared now.
Good, because interviews are not just about getting a job, they are about finding the right place for you, and asking the right questions helps you see that clearly.
That really changes the way I see interviews.
If you learned something from this episode, subscribe to Focus English with Cece, the channel, and start practicing these questions today.
One question at a time.
And comment below, what is one question you will use in your next interview, and what is one thing you learned from today's episode?
We'd love to hear from you.
Because every small step is a step forward.
See you in the next episode.
See you.